After his football days, Earle joined us in the media. He worked with us at 10 TV in producing the Coach's Show, first Coach Tressel's show, and then Coach Meyer's show. Coach Bruce was teamed up with Coach John Cooper, and they were analysts. Earle loved being an analyst. He loved analyzing you guys. Earle also worked at WTVN Radio. He was the star of Buck's Line. If you ever wanted to hear good radio, you wanted to listen to Buck's Line, because Earle would get wound up. For 23 years, he worked alongside Matt McCoy. Please welcome from WTVN Radio, Mr. Matt McCoy.
Thank you, Dom. It's an honor to be here today. I'm so touched that you asked me, the Bruce family, to speak about a man that I loved. The dictionary definition of the word passion is a strong and barely controllable emotion. My definition is Earle Bruce. I was blessed to work alongside Earle at WTVN and 105.7 The Zone for more than 20 years, and it was his passion for The Ohio State University and Buckeye football that made him so popular and resonated with all of Buckeye Nation. Now, I can't lie, there were times when Earle's passion on live radio was a little challenging. I am convinced that the 7-second delay in radio was invented for Earle Bruce. Believe it or not, there were times when Earle would slip up and say one of those 7 words that you're not allowed to say on broadcast radio. Sometimes it would happen because he was so emotional and passionate about a topic that he would simply forget that he was on live radio. There were other times, though, when Earle would just get tongue-tied, like the time we were discussing the Buckeye kicking game, and Earle was trying to talk about a chip shot field goal, only he didn't say shot. But the best demonstration of Earle's passion for the Buckeyes was on game day. The #1 perk of my job, without question, was getting to watch football games with Earle. As Dom and all of our media colleagues that are here know, there is a rule in Ohio Stadium and in every stadium across the country: no cheering in the press box. Earle Bruce broke that rule every Saturday, and especially when we made the trips up to Ann Arbor. My favorite game watching with Earle came at our radio station. He was like my Columbus dad watching football. We would do our pregame show on the air, and then me and the rest of our analysts would sit out in the lobby, and we would watch the game on television. After the 2015 season, the Buckeyes played in the Fiesta Bowl against Notre Dame. I watched that game with Earle. I think a lot of you remember that game. The Buckeyes dominated. Great win, 44-28 over Notre Dame. They did it largely, as a lot of Coach Meyer's teams did, with a big running game. I think Zeke had like 4 touchdowns, 150 yards. But there was a particular drive in the third quarter when Ohio State was in control and up a couple of touchdowns that Ohio State came out featuring the pass. And Earle didn't like it. With every throw, even completed passes, mind you, Earle would raise his voice and say, "Run the football, they can't tackle Zeke." As fate would have it, this particular drive ended with an interception, and Earle lost it. He stood up, shouted at the TV, "What are you doing?" And by you, Coach Meyer, he didn't mean J.T. Barrett. Before I knew it, Earle had his phone out and was scrolling down his contact list, and he looks at me and he goes, "I'm calling Urban." And I'm like, "Coach, 2 things. 1, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have his cell phone with him right now. And 2, even if he does, he's a little busy, and I'm pretty sure he's not going to answer it. And Earle looks at me with that face and that finger, like Tony was talking about, and says, he'll answer if it's from me. But that was Earle. You just could not take the coach out of him. He loved the Buckeyes, loved Coach Tressel, Coach Meyer, but he always wanted it done his way. In addition to his passion for Buckeye football, Earle showed his passion for something else on the radio: fighting Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's ran in Coach Bruce's family. His father and 2 sisters battled the disease, and he saw what it did to him. That's why a little more than a decade ago, he and his wonderful and loving late wife, Jean, along with his family, started the Earle and Jean Bruce Alzheimer's Research Fund. And to date, it has raised more than $1.2 million towards Alzheimer's research. We helped Earle with fundraisers like the Beat Michigan Tailgate and the Athletes Against Alzheimer's Radiothon. Both Coach Tressel and Coach Meyer have been great supporters of those events. Earle started all of this, though, not knowing that eventually he, too, would be invaded by this terrible disease. A disease that peels away at your memory, leading to moments of confusion, panic, and anger. And a disease that creates a painful emotional burden on a family. That's why if you're looking for a way that you can honor Earle, consider making a donation to the Earle and Jean Bruce Alzheimer's Research Fund in his memory. The address and the information is in your program. One day at The Ohio State University, we can realize Earle's dream and find a cure for this awful disease. One other passion that Earle had was a passion, and Tony talked about it and Coach Tressel did, the passion for you, the fans, Buckeye Nation. I always marveled at the example that he would set. Fans would come up to him at football games, at our broadcasts, at our tailgate, and Earle shook every hand, he signed every autograph, he had every conversation, and he always had time for you, and he loved it. Look around this arena. We are all here because of Earle's light. Matthew 5, verse 16 reads, "Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." Some of you here are family members. Some of you played for him. Some of you coached with him or heard him speak. Maybe you're an administrator who worked with him. Maybe you're one of those fans he snapped a picture with or he said hello to, or maybe you just respect Earle and so you're moved to be here. Now imagine beyond the walls of this arena, how many lights did Earle shine in Columbus, in the state of Ohio, in the cities that he coached, Tampa, Ames, Colorado Springs. Imagine how many players, fans from coast to coast and around the world are shining a little brighter because of the impact of one man. That's the challenge to all of us. In whatever way we can, follow the example of Earle Bruce. Support that cause that touches you. Be the best husband, father, grandfather you can be, and treat people the way you would want to be treated. I love Earle Bruce. My radio family, past and present, our analysts, Stan, Jeff, Bill, Dave, all love him too. And I know all of you do too, the members of Buckeye Nation. That's why I know that Earle Bruce's light will never be extinguished. Thank you very much. God's blessing. I'm honored to be here, and God bless Earle Bruce.